What's up? Brandon Lilly here. Got a late night edition of the 3 questions from Facebook. Actually, we've got about 640 questions instead of 3, so I'm just going to go through them as quickly as I can. Actually, it's not 640. Reggie says, what assistance work can I do for my lagging lats? Do lat pull downs, do barbell rows, dumbbell rows, and do them every day of the week. I've used the reference of talking about a mechanic's hands. You know, the first few days, their hands get really, really sore when they're turning wrenches. But over time, they turn wrenches every single day. Their hands thicken up, the muscles in their hands grow. You become accustomed to it. You can adapt to it. Put those lats under a lot of stress. They'll get better, they'll get bigger, and you'll be better for it. Mark asks, high bar versus low bar. It really depends on your stance and your comfort level. You know, I've done both. I'm gradually working towards more of a low bar squat. It just depends on the individual. You know, I tend to think that you know, more of a power position for true powerlifting would lend itself more towards the low bar. But I was high bar for basically my whole career until the last 6 months. So you definitely can milk the high bar as long as you feel comfortable doing it. You know, just make sure that you try new things. Don't become stuck doing things only one way. Try the low bar if you're a high bar squatter. Try the high bar if you're a low bar squatter. You know, now that I'm doing more low bar work, a lot of my assistance work is done with a high bar and Olympic stance because I tend to squat, you know, a little wider than shoulder width when I go heavy. So now I'm bringing the feet in and going high bar again just to do my assistance work. So rotate it around, you know, get a feel for it. The only person that can answer that is you. And if anybody says there's one way that's better than the other, there's great examples of elite lifters, truly elite lifters, that do both. So get a feel for it, try it out. Andrew asks, building lockout strength in the deadlift. I think the best way to go about this is, you know, working speed pulls. I've done this, and I use Olympic shoes to do my speed pulls. You know, that's not for everybody. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it requires more upper hamstring and glute recruitment. And then the other thing is doing rep work from a block or a high pin. And what I mean by that is, you know, actually just below the knee, even more than like a 4 to 6 inch block, but maybe like an 8 to 10 inch block or a high pin pull. And what you really want to focus on with reps instead of maximum weight is actually building the glutes and building the hamstrings up. So many guys just use heavy weight, and that doesn't really build the muscularity. It just builds your leverage, or it builds, you know, confidence in actually trying to do the movement. You'll learn tricks, and you'll try to slide your legs down underneath the bar. You'll use more back than you should, but you're actually trying to strengthen the glutes and the hamstrings and a little bit of lower back. So do repetition work probably in the 70 to 85% range, in the 6 to 12 rep range from a high block or a high pin. I think that'll really do a lot of work for you. Matt asks, have I ever eaten a fried burrito? The shit's changed his life. I've never had a fried burrito. I am a fan of Mexican food. If anybody wants to send me some, I will not turn you down. Michael asks, how do you use the cube while in season for a sport? Basically, the best answer for this, for somebody like yourself who's doing water polo, would be the first 3 weeks, just cycle them over and over, but add weight each rotation, because you're only going to be working up to a heavy triple on your heavy days. Your rep ranges on your rep days are going to be, you know, anywhere from 8 to 12, and your explosive days are going to be relatively light. You're not trying to gain new strength during your season. You're just trying to maintain what you established in the off season. So a rotation of the 3-week cycle, the first wave, and then just try to hit small 5-pound PRs every time you recycle the 3rd week. Seth asks, any cardio? What kind? Well, if I was worried about being a high cardiovascular athlete, I would not be a powerlifter. But I don't want to be a fat fucking powerlifter. So the thing for me is a good 15 to 20 minute walk a day. Yes, a walk. You don't have to run. You don't have to do anything aggressive. But the other hand is, I don't think that it's bad if you want to do some of that stuff. You know, I'm not trying to set the world on fire, and like I said, be a cardiovascular athlete. But if you want to do some prowler pushes, if you want to do some hill sprints, You know, or like I said, just walk for 20 minutes. Get your ass off the couch. Realize that you don't have to be a fat fucking slob to be a powerlifter, and get in motion. Realize that you're going to live beyond the time that you can lift weights at a high level. And, you know, that's been one of the best things that's ever happened to me, was getting off my fat ass and walking around, getting some mobility. You'll be surprised how much mobility you gain just from walking for 20 minutes. You loosen your knees up, your hamstrings will feel less tight, your glutes will get more activation. It's really about more than just the cardiovascular health for me. But, you know, I don't want to die when I'm 40. You know, there's not very much that's healthy about this sport. So taking 20 minutes a day to take a walk around the block is a pretty simple task, if that means putting years back on my life. Tyler asks, where do you find your motivation to do the shit your way and not care what anyone else thinks? Well, Tyler, where the fuck is everybody going to be when I'm dead? They're either going to be dead or they're going to die. So their opinion doesn't carry very much weight for me. You know, I don't really care what anybody thinks of me. If people like me, that's great. If they hate me, that's fine too. They're entitled to that opinion. It just makes no sense to me to sit and spend your whole life trying to please other people, because in the end, most of the people that you're working really hard to please don't give a fuck about you anyway. It's the people who are there when shit is awful that matter, and those people will be there regardless. So, you know, as far as a powerlifter and as far as what anybody on the internet thinks of me, you know, when I'm done powerlifting, right now there's probably about 600 people that know who I am, because powerlifting is not that big of a sport. But when I'm done powerlifting, those 600 people aren't going to give a shit what I do. So, you know, I'm trying to do things the way that I want to do them. I'm trying to do things so that I can enjoy myself and have fun. And, you know, that's really what matters to me, is taking care of myself, taking care of those that I care about, and doing it for them, you know, because they're the ones who support me when nobody else supported me. So, you know, that's what I think about it. Jay Nera asks, crispers, chip or cracker? I'm more of a cracker kind of guy. Let's see. Next question. Cycling in Oli shoes and training from Corey. You know, for me, I use them in all my squats. I pull from the floor barefooted. I like to do my speed pulls in the Olympic shoes for the reasons I mentioned earlier, as far as getting more upper hamstring and glute activation. It just, I have a tendency to let the bar drift anyway, so it accelerates that, or it encourages that motion. So by learning to pull back in those shoes, when I take them off and I go flat-footed or barefooted, it's tremendous how much more backward pull I get, which is actually what you're trying to do when you deadlift. So no real implementation outside of that. You know, I've done some leg presses in them and things like that, but every once in a while I might do a rep day on deadlift, but I do bench in them. That's something that I found works really, really well for me, because I used to be a guy that had the heels hover, and I went into a federation that required your heels down. What's an easy way to fix that? Just put on your Olympic shoes. And actually, I noticed I got a really good amount of leg drive from doing that. So, you know, that's how I implement the Olympic shoes. Arnell says, box squats or no box squats? I think box squats are great if you're rehabbing somebody, or if you're trying to establish confidence with a very, very new lifter. But for me, you know, it's going to incite rage and fury, and people are going to probably send death threats my way. But I think box squats are not the optimal way for a raw lifter to get strong. If you're in gear and that's what you want to do, that's fine. I'm not going to argue with you, but I just look at guys that I want to be like, and guys that do things that I want to do. And, you know, outside of a couple friends of mine that train at Westside and a couple that train at Lexington, I can't think of any big squatters in the U.S. or around the world that I look up to that use the box. So I'm going to say no box. Josiah asks, belt use, benefits and downfalls. Just like any other piece of equipment, it can become a crutch. I started taking the belt off for deadlifts and my squats, and I learned how to use my abs. I learned how to push my obliques out, my erectors. Became much more stable in my core. So when you add the belt back in, you're that much more efficient when using it. You know, I think people, like I said, hold on to it like a crutch. That's why I've started training a lot more without knee wraps, to try to build myself up. So when I do add the knee reps, I've learned to use my body better. So when I add the knee reps back in, I've learned to use them better as well. So get better, get stronger without stuff, and then when you add it in, you'll use it better, you'll use it more effectively. David asked, short shorts versus gym shorts for deadlifts. You know what? Short shorts all the way. Man mode versus beast mode. I'm not a beast, I'm just a man, so I'm going to say man mode. Shocker versus spocker. You know what? Live long and prosper. Next question. Billy Wolt says, Smith machine Bulgarian split squats with reverse band, good main movement. Hell yes, buddy. Kill 'em. And last question from Joseph. What do you eat when you feel like you've made everything and nothing sounds good? Well, when nothing sounds good to me, I look at myself and I say, you know what? Somebody somewhere, whether that was way in the past or coming in the future or right now, will eat when they don't want to eat to get better. So what the fuck am I doing feeling sorry for myself saying I don't want something? My go-to meal is usually eggs and oats when that's the case. They're simple, they're plain, they're easy to make, and it's fuel. You know, if nothing else, I'll fix a shake with some peanut butter in it or something like that. But at this point, you know, I don't really eat for taste. I don't eat a whole lot just to enjoy myself. I eat because it's fuel. I eat because it means pounds on my total, and it means, you know, I'm willing to go the extra step even when I don't want to. So I tried to cover all the questions that I got. I appreciate all you guys taking the time to submit them. Hopefully I answered your questions, and we'll do it again tomorrow. See you guys then. Thanks.